Tackle Junkies, what's going on, everyone? Really appreciate you guys and gals for clicking on the video. We're back with rigs for bigs, an exciting month here. We got a bunch of top waters in the box from MONSTERBASS. If you guys don't know, I do a rigging gear video every month for the baits in the box. And like I said, this month is full of top waters. Summer's here. Today is 77, but Thursday is 97. So summer's here. Yeah, that's a pretty big gap there, only in the Midwest. 77, 97. The heat is on. Break out your top waters. And just a heads up, guys, I'm sure you can hear them. I actually feel like they're on me right now. There are cicadas everywhere. I'm sure you guys can hear them, and I'm sure you're dealing with them as well. But I tell you what, when I'm shooting videos, they do not like it. Usually I get attacked. So if you see me all like swinging and stuff, I'm not going crazy out here. Most likely I'm getting attacked by cicadas. So just a heads up. Okay, so the first top water we have in the box, and I've heard of this brand before. I believe it's pronounced Snek Frog, and these are actually frogs for snakeheads. You can imagine they are built really well. Something that kind of stands out from the jump, you'll see this Kevlar line tie. And I'm not sure, but I'd imagine what that does is get your actual line, further away from the frog itself. So if a snakehead or something like that were to hit this and possibly cut your line is further away versus being tied directly to the nose like a traditional frog. But it's super soft, sticky, sharp hooks. It's got these blades on the back. I think Spro has a frog like that as well. You can see the back's all sealed up. It looks like a nice well-built frog there. Okay, now we don't have, at least the lakes that I fish, I don't really have any real like big thick tight mats to fish. The little bit of mat that we have might be just a couple foot off the bank, and then you got open water. So the gear that I'm going to use for frogs might be a bit differently than what you use. Even when I go to the ponds and frog fish, again, we just don't have a lot of mats there. I don't need some super heavy duty rod and all that. I still use a heavy power. But if guys are usually fishing like, big, mats and all that, they're usually using a much longer rod to get more leverage. I'm still using a 7-footer, especially if you're using a popping frog or even just trying to walk the dog here. Me being a shorter guy, I like a shorter rod, so my rod tip is not in the water. But like I said, if you're around some big fish, some big mats and all that, you may want to go to a longer rod just to give yourself a bit more leverage. But I'll tell you what, another little tip, if you are constantly missing frog fish, a shorter rod, in a way, it kind of acts like a delay. A longer rod's going to move more line. A shorter rod will move less. So if you're constantly missing fish, you may want to go to a bit shorter rod. But I'm using a 7-foot, this is a heavy power, it's the Nakuma TCS rod. It's actually a jig worm rod, but it's a heavy power with a moderate fast action. Again, a 7-footer there. So my rod tip is not in the water. It's a 7-foot heavy mod fast. That is 50-pound braid. That is Seagar Smackdown Stealth Gray, 50-pound. Usually for my frog fish, I never really, or frog fishing, I never go any lighter or any heavier. We don't have, at least where I'm fishing, we don't have 10-pounders around here. Or at least I ain't catching them, at least, we'll just put it that way. But I don't feel the need to go any heavier. I mean, 50-pound is pretty good. And like I said, if you live down south, you're around some giants, or you got some super thick mats, you may want to go 65. But me personally, I've never had any issues at all with 50-pound braid. And this here is it's a Bantam, Shimano Bantam. I need to do a review on this reel. I've been using it for frog fishing all this season so far. It's in a 7.1, and for a 7-speed reel, that's what I really like about it. For a 7-speed, it's got a lot of power. Okay, normally, if I'm trying to, let me put it to you this way. Mat fishing, most of the time, you have to use your rod. You're in some thick mats, say you got a big fish on, or maybe just a bunch of grass and a small fish. Usually, your reel's not going to have a lot of power, and you're going to have to horse them in and use your reel to pick up the slack. Now over there at the ponds, again, we don't have a lot of mats there. There are some mats and a lot of grass and things like that, and we're catching some decent fish over there. But with the 7-speed reel, smaller bass, bigger bass, grass, whatever the case may be, I can just winch them in with that reel. This Bantam has a ton of power, so really, really impressed with this reel here. but a lot of guys do like a much faster reel for frog fishing. I tend to lean towards the slower side. You guys know that just from previous videos. I like a reel with more power, and a slower reel or a lower gear ratio will have more power than a faster reel. But a happy medium, I would say, is a 7-speed. Again, this one here is in a 7-1. So 7-speed reel, 50-pound braid, and a 7-foot heavy power mod fast action rod is my go-to frogging combo. Let's keep rolling with topwater. We have a popper from 13 Fishing, which is the Poppy McPopface 75. Okay, we have a walking bait from Rebel, which is called the Jumpin' Minnow, and then we have a plopper style bait. I believe this brand is called Bait Lab. I could be wrong, but I think it's Bait Lab. Okay, it's a plopper style bait. So 3 different topwaters, and I use them in really 3 different situations. When I'm target fishing, so I have, let's say, a stump, a dock post, a lay down, something like that. When I'm just going to throw at a target, I like the popper. I can keep it in one spot, give it a pop, and so on and so forth. So I like a popper when I'm target fishing. When I'm trying to move a bit faster, cover a bit more water, let's say I have an area with a bunch of stumps, like a stump field or something like that, just trying to cover water a bit faster, that's when I go to the walker. When I'm just cruising the banks and trying to cover water even faster, that's when I go to the plopper. Okay, as far as the conditions go, when it's slick calm, again, that's when I go to the popper. If we get a bit more wind, I go to the walker, so on and so forth. If we have a bit more wind, I'm trying to move faster, that's when I go to the plopper. Okay, try to keep it pretty simple. Now I got 3 different combos which we're going to go over here, but these are all topwater baits. Okay, if you only wanted to use one style of line and one type of rod, I personally would go with mono. You can use braid. A lot of guys these days are also going braid to leader. You can do that as well. I'm not really a leader guy. I don't like the extra knot. Okay, plus, like in your finesse applications and all that, fishing this muddy water, I'll go straight braid. I don't really feel the need in this water clarity to even use a leader. Okay, but let's get back on topwater there. I personally would use mono. Okay, if you use braid, straight braid, braid will kind of back up on itself just because it's so limp. So sometimes if you're using like a walking type bait, a prop bait, that braid will snag that hook or it'll snag that prop. Yeah, there's some little tricks that you can do, but you will have some issues with braid. Fluorocarbon, it's a sinking line. You can throw it out with a popper. You might get a few pops out of it, but as you're working the bait, the line from your rod tip to the bait is already starting to sink. So like I said, you'll get a few pops, but after that, you actually have to get that line to cut through the water because it's sinking. So I do not recommend fluorocarbon for topwater unless it's a moving type topwater, like you're moving it consistently. On my ploppers, I do run fluorocarbon. I run fluorocarbon on my buzz baits as well, but I'm moving those fast enough to where the fluorocarbon doesn't affect the bait. Okay, but again, if you could choose one line for all, I personally would use mono, and I would use somewhere like around probably 14-pound test. And the reason I say the 14, because again, I'm going to show you my popper that has 14, my walker that has 20. Okay, I like different pound tests for different situations and different baits, but again, a happy medium would be 14. If you go too high, you're gonna have problems throwing smaller poppers and topwaters. Okay, so again, keep that in mind. That's why my popper setup has 14 on it, just because I do throw some little small poppers that I wouldn't be able to throw with 20-pound test. But a lot of my walkers, I do like that 20. For one, they're a bit heavier. Some are 3/4, some are even 1 ounce. So it's a bigger bait. I do like a bit bigger line, and that 20-pound test really rides on the surface well, and I believe it helps the bait walk even better. So again, different baits, different situations, but a happy medium, I would say, 14-pound test for your topwaters. You can throw that with your ploppers as well. Again, I do run fluorocarbon for my ploppers, but you can totally run mono for all topwaters. Years ago, guys, I used to throw 20-pound mono for frogs. You can even throw mono for frogs, no problem. Just have maybe a bit stiffer rod to make up for the stretch in mono. Okay, So let's go ahead and break them out here. So first up, we have the popper. Again, this is the, what they call it, the Poppy McFace or something like that. The Poppy McPopface 75 from 13 Fishing. Okay, good looking popper for sure. It's like a chrome, blue back, pearl belly. I like that. Okay, in my popper setup, I do run 14-pound test. Again, just because I do throw some smaller poppers as well. This one here is like 5/8 of an ounce. No problem at all throwing like 17, 20-pound test with this heavy of a popper. But like I said, some of my other ones that I throw are pretty light. So on this combo, I am running 14-pound test so I can throw all of my poppers with this combo here. This is the Akuma Guide Select. Okay, this is really the same rod I use for my crankbaits that we've talked about in the past, but this particular one is shorter. I crank with a 7-footer, but this particular one here is a 6'9". I like a shorter rod when I'm using the rod to work the bait with a downward motion, just like a jerk bait, just because if this was a longer rod, when I'm trying to make that popper pop, my rod tip would be in the water. So again, I like a shorter rod for my top waters. So a 6'9", this is a medium power with a moderate fast action. So like I said, a cranking rod, nice soft action rod there. 14-pound, that is Suffolk Siege. It's a great mono. If you're looking for a good mono, definitely check out the Suffolk Siege there, 14-pound test. And this is a Revo, this is the SX, but the Rocket, so it's a real fast reel. I believe it's a 9-speed, I believe, yeah, 9-speed there. So typically, guys, I'm a slower speed, reel guy, but when I can visually see my bait, I don't feel that I'm going to overwork the bait. So with my top waters that I can see, obviously, I do like a faster reel. I'm using the rod to work the bait. The reel is just picking up slack. And if I feel that I'm working the bait too fast, I can visually see that. So I don't mind a faster reel with my top waters. Okay, so that's my popper setup there. My walker setup. This is that Rebel Jumpin' Minnow. So this is a walking bait here. Something I want to mention as well. This one here, you'll see a snap. It's a little Norman speed clip on there. You can tie a loop knot, or you can use some sort of snap. The 13 Fishing did have a little oval split ring, so I went that route, but I usually don't tie direct to my topwater lures. That way they have a bit more movement. That one had the split ring, so I tied to it. This one here, I added the snap. But like I said, a loop knot will work as well. Okay, and this is that Rebel Jumpin' Minnow, which is a walking bait. Okay, bone color, can never go wrong with bones. You're gonna buy one topwater color, buy yourself a bone. Now this rod here is my walking bait rod. Okay, and really the main reason that I use this particular rod is because it can handle a bit more weight. The Akuma rod here, I believe it maxes out at 3/4 of an ounce. Okay, some of the walkers that I use are 3/4 of an ounce. Some are 1 ounce. They're pretty big, and if you overload the rod on the cast, there's a good chance you could break off your tip. Okay, so I do like this particular rod here. This is a Dobbins. It's a 685. 6'8". I believe it's a medium heavy with a mod fast action. Again, that shorter rod, that's softer action, especially with treble hooks there. So again, we got a cranking rod here, shorter cranking rod, but this particular rod being a medium heavy will handle up to an ounce here. So again, I like this particular rod here for my walkers just because they usually weigh a bit more than the poppers. Okay, and I'm running 20-pound test with this combo right here. Again, that Suffolk Siege 20-pound test, bit heavier lures. I like a bit heavier line, and that 20-pound test really sits on the water nice and helps the baits walk even better. So I really do like that heavier pound test for my walkers. This is the Revo STX, and again, I believe this one is a faster reel as well. It is an 8-1. Again, I'm visually watching my bait. I'm not going to overwork it. The reel's basically just picking up slack. I'm working the bait with my rod. And for the last top water, This is that, what do we call that? The Bait Lab. This is that plopper style bait. Okay, little plopper style. Good looking color, like that chartreuse on the belly there. Okay, this one here I have on my cranking combo. This is what I throw, you know, square bills with and things like that. This particular bait, I'm moving fast enough, okay, so I'll use fluorocarbon with it just because it's not going to affect the bait, okay. So this is my cranking rod here at Kuma Guide Select, 7-foot, medium power, mod, fast action, okay. 15-pound, that's Seaguard VizX, which is a fluorocarbon line. The reel, since I'm using the reel basically to work this bait, I like a much slower reel. This is a 6.3, okay. 6.3, 15-pound Seaguard VizX, 7-foot medium power mod fast cranking rod for my ploppers. Okay, last up we have a couple soft plastics, basically a couple finesse baits. All right, one of them is a little Ned bait from Vicious Fishing, little green pumpkin Ned bait. And then we have some of these are the Grande Bass 5.25 airtail sticks. And basically what you have here is a stick bait that's got that little air pocket there on the back that you can add some scent to, or a rattle or something like that. Great for a Texas rig, a Neko rig, shaky head, Carolina rig. Okay, so we have those couple baits there. Now guys, as far as rigs go for spinning gear, you guys know I'm not a huge spinning guy, all right? With fishing muddy water, I don't finesse fish a ton. I do love a shaky head, I love a Neko rig, but again, I don't finesse fish much. Like, I'm not gonna throw a drop shot with this watercolor, okay? I have zero confidence in it. But I do try to keep my spinning gear pretty simple, all right? Normally like a medium light or a medium power rod. Fast action, okay? That's how simple I keep it. I don't go too specific as far as like a certain rod length and action and all that for my spinning gear. Anywhere from like a 7-foot at like a 7'2". It changes depending on rod brand. A lot of people make a 7, some make a 7.1, some make a 7.2, some make a 7.3. Just some brands you can't get a 7-footer, they only make a 7.3, 7.2, whatever the case may be. Anywhere from like a 7-foot to a 7.3. Medium light to a medium power, fast action. Okay, I keep it that simple. And really I let the lure weight, maybe the cover that I'm fishing around, or maybe the pound test that I need to use, determine which rod I'm going to pick. Obviously lighter weights, lighter line, you know, less cover, I'll use the medium light. If I need a bit more backbone, a bit heavier weight, I'm using some heavier line, maybe I'm fishing around docks, I'll use the medium power. I keep it that simple. For the Ned bait, okay, we just have that rigged on a little Mustad Ned head. It's a 1/0 hook, okay, 1/8 ounce head, got a nice weed guard on there. If I'm going to really, I don't throw really finesse baits on this lake being so dirty, but if I'm going to want that weed guard, because most likely I'll be fishing it around some sort of cover, whether it be brush, docks, you know, things like that. So I definitely want the weed guard. I always buy my Ned heads with weed guards, and if I decide I don't want them, I can cut them off. But if I need them, I have them. Okay, again, that's a Mustad 1/8 ounce 1/0 hook there. Again, a little green pumpkin Ned bait there. And I'm just running, that is 10-pound, that's Seaguard Tatsu. The rod, this is the Akuma X series. This is the 7.3 medium power, okay? 7.3 medium power, fast action. 10-pound fluorocarbon. And the reel, I do believe this is a 3,000 size reel. As far as the speed goes, I think it's somewhere in the 6 range. It says on here not. With your spinning reels, you really don't get too many options as far as speed goes. Yeah, this one is a 6-speed. So right there it's 6. But yeah, you don't get a whole lot of options for your spinning reels, all right? Some are 5, some are 6. Very few do you find faster than that. But I might have one for the next combo. For the last bait, we have the Neko rig. And of course, we're using the Grande Bass 5.25 airtail stick. Using an O-ring on there. That's the Mustad O-rings. Really like these because it has a little ring on top as well that goes the opposite way. So you can run your hook across the bait. A little bit better hookup ratio there. Okay, nail weight, little Mustad 1/16 ounce nail weight. It's a Mustad Titan X Wacky Neko hook, size 2. Again, I buy them with the weed guards. If I don't want them, I can cut them off. Little Neko rig there, which I'll skip around docks, okay? That's why I'm running straight braid. Again, you guys can do the whole braid to leader, but fishing this water clarity, especially fishing under docks, skipping docks, being shaded, being darker, again, muddy water, I don't see any issues at all with the straight braid. At least I haven't had any issues. No problem at all catching fish with straight braid. I've been running straight braid for many years. Again, even with the shaky head where the line is just sitting there, haven't had any issues at all catching fish straight braid. But again, I'm fishing muddier water. Clear water, I would definitely add a leader or go straight fluorocarbon. But for this water clarity here, no issues at all running straight braid. So the rod, Akuma Psycho Stick, 7'2", medium power, fast action. And this is the reel that I was talking about earlier. It's a bit faster than the previous reel. This is the fastest spinning reel that I own. That's why I picked this one up, because I wanted a faster reel for skipping docks. I don't see it on here, but I do believe it's a 7-speed spinning reel, which is pretty rare for spinning reels. Normally they're in that 5 to 6 range. So that's the Garcia, Abu Garcia Revo Rocket spinning reel there. Again, 20-pound braid, 7.2 medium power, fast action rod. So guys, I believe that should wrap it up. We had, what, 4 different top waters and a couple finesse baits. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys are learning something from these videos. I truly appreciate everyone watching. If you guys enjoyed and liked the video, be sure to smash the thumbs up. Definitely head over there to Monster Bass, check them out, use code TJ81 to save a few bucks. Love you guys. We will see you guys on the next one.